What's going on, YouTube? This is going to be one of my first videos that I'm doing. I'm going to be changing the bearings on my wife's Lexus and changing out the air springs in the back to coil springs and redoing the shocks, putting some new brakes on it, and then also changing out my CV shafts. It's a pretty intense thing to do. Hopefully I can get it done in one day. But anyway, I wanted to go ahead and put this on a video somehow because I hadn't found one. Found some other just real short videos, so I'm going to try to be my first attempt to see if I can make it. But I'll let you look at it here in a second. And anyway, hope this helps if anybody's got to do this to their vehicle. Okay, what I'm doing the change on is a 2008 Lexus GX470. So like I said, I'm going to have all the parts. I'll go over that in a little bit. But it's got over 200,000 miles on it. It's been a good vehicle. Still runs great. Just it's the bearings grinding and the CV shafts boots tore, and I'll show some pictures of that as we move through it. Okay, well, I would say step 2 is getting your tires off. One thing about these Lexuses I've noticed is right around here they'll get pretty snug, and sometimes it is a little bit of a task to get them off. Just be sure you don't pry on anything on your rim that can break it, crack it, or in the back. You just kind of got to rotate your tire and hit it a few times just right. Our next step, well, we're gonna have to take off the caliper. I'm gonna change the brakes when I'm coming back, so I got a new set of brakes. Figure if you're gonna do that, if you have all this off, you might as well. Once I get the caliper off, I'm gonna have to get this grease shield off. Just have to be careful around this lip. You definitely don't want to damage that. Looking further, I believe I might have to. I'm gonna have to get this tie rod loose. Now, don't look too bad. Just a cotter pin. Don't look like it's too corroded up or anything. I might hit it with some penetrating oil before. Just be sure when you're backing this bolt off, you get it past the threads, and then when you're gonna hit it, try to hit it with a dead blow hammer. What I would recommend is put a 2x4 on it, hit it, that way you don't damage the bolt either way, just to protect the threads, but you just don't want to get those threads twisted. Once I get that off and get this caliper off and move it, then I should be able to tie it off. I think that's all I have to get. One thing nice about Toyota, if you have a Lexus or a Toyota, right here, typically you would have to break this loose, take that pin out, and bust this ball joint. But they designed these very well. There's a bolt here and a bolt here. You get those two loose, and this whole bottom piece should just fall down. Once it falls down, which I'll also have to get this one off for my shock, and I got a whole kit, so I don't have to change the spring. I bought the kit that came with all of it. So once I get this done and I get this whole rotor assembly off, and I get this lower control arm dropped, I should be able to pull this CV shaft. And I got some seals. I haven't changed those ever, so hopefully that's not too much of a task. But I got a seal for here and on the inside. I'm just hoping that doesn't turn into be an issue. Should be I think a pretty simple pull out, knock it back in, just as long as I don't damage my seals. You can kind of see, I think it's on this side. No, it's on the other side over there. You can kind of see where that grease is slinging. That's where it's damaged. But anyway, once I get that off, and I get this loose, prior to changing that CV shaft, I'm gonna go ahead and you come up here, and I'll have to disconnect this wiring assembly. You can see the 3 bolts, 1, 2, and there's one on the back. I should be able to get to fairly easy. Take this piece off the top. There's a bolt here. Once I get that broke loose and these 3 bolts broke loose, this thing should pull straight out. And then I'll just pop my new assembly in, bolt that up, put my CV shaft in, bolt that up, and then work my way back opposite. And the last thing I should do on the side is put the cap back on and change the brakes. So anyway, I'll as I get each step done, I'll add it. I don't want to talk too long. I want this video to be kind of short and sweet and to the point. So Okay, I got the rotor pulled off. Got those bolts busted loose. I just put them back so I don't lose them. Pulled the bolt off right here. And then you gotta be careful. You got some plastic clips here, and there's a plug-in down here. I'm assuming it's for your ABS. But anyway, be really careful so you don't break that. But once I got them all pulled off, tied it off to the side with some wire. So I got it hanging there, and now you can see the brake pad's actually getting pretty wore. I don't know, let me see if I can get a focus. Yeah, you can see they're wearing down. Not much left. So, okay, YouTube. Decided I'm gonna go ahead and break that control arm loose. Goes right here. I figured it'd be easier to break it loose right here. I did it to the other side. Got it off. Well, we can get that out of the way, because once I got to get this piece done for the control arm, and I think this is out of the way, it'll be easier to pull this whole assembly out of the way to get the CV shaft out and also replace that strut. Just so you can look at it. Let me walk around. I'm out of breath because I'm just got done eating. I'm a little bloated. Shouldn't eat that much. Anyway, so here's what it is. Got it loose. You can see where I took it off here. May want to pre-lube it. I got this stuff from my dad. Yeah, it's pretty good. Seems to work a little better than WD-40. But anyway, I had to get a rag, and there's the hammer down there on the ground. But this side broke loose pretty easy. I'm still gonna have to back it up, but you may have to put a rag. It depends if you really care about your tools, but put a rag around that and tap it with a hammer, just so you protect your handle. And just be careful you don't, of course, make sure you're using the right size. This actually took a 17, and that way you don't strip out the head of the bolt or the nut. And anyway, you can see when I'm turning this, it's turning. So I'm gonna have to back it up with a set of channel locks on there, and just adjust them appropriately, and should be able to clamp them right there. Oh, I get it right there. Anyway, you're gonna clamp them right there and turn the bolt. Since I can't not go on a camera stand or anything, I'm gonna have to just bust it loose. But anyway, that's what you want to use to back it up. Should be pretty. That's how I did on the other side. So anyway, I hope that helps just to break that part loose. Okay, I got the hub broke loose. There's a couple videos on YouTube you can always go to if you have trouble getting this. It was kind of rusted up. One individual, I'll give credit to him here when I can remember his YouTube video. But anyway, he advised putting your lug nuts on, and then using a hammer to hit right here. And you can kind of see where I did score it up a little bit. But anyway, good advice, because that does protect your threads and make sure that you don't damage them. Because if you mess these up, that's going to be a bigger task to get in there and change that stud. So definitely always think to protect. What I found worked for me was I got the hammer, and as I was tapping here, and I'm using a Husky 4-pounder. Yeah, it's a 4-pound hammer. Could probably use some a little smaller, but this is what I found. Anyway, tap this and work your way around, and then you can actually rotate. This will turn. You can turn that, work your way around. Anyway, it broke the hub loose. I think that worked a little better than tapping in here. So I'm going to try it on the other side, just working my way around the ends. Just be careful you don't hit in here where your brakes go. You can kind of see I did catch it there when I was swinging earlier, trying to hit in here. Even though I tried to use a good control, I did score up my rotor a little bit. It did leave a pretty good little divot in there. I think that was me. I don't know, that could have been previous from something else, but no, I was swinging a hammer, so if I'm swinging a hammer, something's getting broke. Anyway, I'll keep moving on. Next, once I'm going to pull this rotor off, I'm going to go ahead and get the dust cap, and I'll video that once I figure out how to pull that thing off. Okay, I got that little dust cover off. You can kind of see there I did bevel it a little bit. Probably got a little too aggressive with the hammer. But anyway, you can see it's got a pretty good lip. So to get it loose, once you I use these two. I broke one of the screwdrivers earlier, broke the tip off. But anyway, I had a flat head, and then I had one of these little small pry bars I found. But anyway, you're gonna use your screwdriver, tap it in, of course, and but I went a little too straight right here, and that's kind of what created that divot. Anyway, once you get it in there, you're gonna pry. Just want to stay away from the threads, and you can rotate this thing as you need to. But once you get about this far out, what I found with this one, what worked well, was coming in at an angle here, and then prying using the back end of that screwdriver up against this as a brace or a spot to get that little tweak. And I worked that dust cap around and popped off. You can only go so far this way with it, and you'll run out of room. So just hopefully that helps if you're doing this on your own. Now I got to get that cotter pin off right here, so I'll begin working on that. As soon as I get that off, I'll show you how to knock this thing loose so you don't damage the threads, and keep moving on. Okay, I got that nut broke loose, took that cotter pin off, and everything's down here. I did get an impact. I didn't have a metric big enough, but I found 1 3/8 works. So it's kind of what my dad had here at his shop. I don't have some tools that big. He used to be a mechanic, have his own shop back in the day, so luckily I got access to a bunch of tools, just like that jack stand. It's an old Air one we used to use all the time, but you may have to jack the vehicle up and put jack stands underneath it and lock it up to get both wheels off the ground. I am going to replace the bearings. I believe the bearing on this one's shot. I could hear a grinding sound, so it's either the bearing or the CV shaft. I figure with 200,000 miles on this thing, might as well do them both. So the bearing's going to consist of breaking these 4 bolts loose, and I bought the whole assembly on eBay for like I think it was $38 for both of them. So it's not a bad price, and had free shipping if you got the Amazon Prime membership. But anyway, they tell you to back this out and hit it right here. I'm going to try it with a 2x4, just because if you hit it wrong and you still damage the end of this nut, it will still have a hard time screwing back on. So I'm going to put a 2x4 on it, and well, there's a board laying down right there. I'm going to put a 2x4 on it and see if I can just get enough of an angle and hit it. These studs might be in the way, but I'm going to try it. But if I can just get it to pop back a little bit and break it in here in case it is seized up, that way when I take this bearing off, it should just slide out. Not sure if I'm going to do this next and go ahead and put the new ones on, or if I'm just going to pull this off, and as I reassemble everything, when I get back to this point, then I'll just change out the bearing. I'm going to see how it goes. Right now my focus though is to get that bottom control arm dropped, get that CV shaft out. You can see I got my sway bar out of the way already. Once I get this broke loose, I think I'm going to work on this, get that out of the way, and then get that control arm on the bottom broke loose. And like I said, I'm going to try to get the CV shaft and the new strut in first, or the new shock with the coil over, and get that in. And I might do this on the back end coming back. So not for sure. I may just break these loose though once I get this loose, just to have it loose, so whenever it's ready to come off, all I gotta do is pull it off and put the new ones on. So we'll see how it goes. Okay, I did hit it, and it did. You can see I can move it now. You can see it sliding back there. Okay, I did use the 2x4. Like I said, wood is very forgiving, so if you hit, it's going to jack the wood up, but it ain't going to mess your metal up. So all I did is set the 2x4 over it, and then I just hit it with a hammer. That pushed it through. I think that's safer than hitting the metal anyway, because metal does give, as you saw earlier whenever I was hitting that rotor. So anyway, like I said, this should pull out now. Now I'm just going to break these loose, just for good measure, and then once I get that loose, I'll start working on the back part. Okay, just so y'all know, these bolts back here for the bearing are going to be a 17-inch, and you will have to use an open-ended socket. It'll fit. You can get it back there. Excuse me, sorry, New Mexico dust. Anyway, get it there, and I had to get a hammer and tap it. Be careful though, make sure you got make sure it's on good, because if you got it on like halfway or something, you could strip those threads. So make sure it's good. It's a 17. Little play in this wrench, but it was enough. You know, I don't think a 16, I don't think they make a 16 would have fit, but I think it goes 15, 17. But anyway, it's a 17-inch, so, or 17 metric. So anyway, once you tap it, you know, they'll break loose. So this one's loose. All I gotta do is take it loose and knock it off, and then I can put the new bearing on. So moving on now to this portion, I'll find out what I gotta get that cotter pin off and everything, and then I'll let you know how that goes here in another video. Okay, I got the bolt broke loose here, and I went ahead and just knocked that bolt back a little bit. I don't know if you can see. Yeah. So anyway, I got that for the shock. I did get this one loose, and I tried to knock it loose. It ain't came off yet. I'm almost looking at, I don't know if I'm going to need to pull it off, so I'm just going to leave it as it is. I think once I drop that lower control arm and take that bolt out, and then pull this assembly up and out of the way and get that CV shaft out, I think once I get all this broke loose up top too, this thing should just fall out, no problem, and I can slide the new one in, go ahead and bolt it up, put my new CV shaft in, and then start working my way back up. And then, like I said, on the way out, I'll change this bearing. But anyway, we'll see. If I have to come take that off too, I'll put that on the video as well, on that control arm. Okay, well, I got the bolt out there. Got these bolts off on the bottom, as you can see. Try to get a better angle right there, and this piece just moves. It came loose. One thing, there's not a lot of, you can't push this thing out of the way, but what it does is it frees this up to open up. So I think I can fish my strut up on this side once I get that CV shaft out of the way. Put the strut in, put the CV shaft. Sorry, got my shades on so I can't see real good. Okay, still didn't take that off yet. I may just go back to it, get some focus there. May go back and just retighten it up. I don't think I had to pull it off. Anyway, I'm going to start working off this top piece now. Unplug that switch right here, and then take this assembly off the top, and then I'm going to start working my bolts here. So once I get that, I think it all should come out pretty easy, hopefully. So anyway, be back with another video. Oh, something I did want to talk about real quick, sorry, is those two bolts down here are what went underneath here. I used an impact. I don't know if just the impact wasn't good. I had 100 pounds of pressure, but I just think it's an old impact. It may have seen its last or better days a long time ago. Anyway, it wouldn't bust them loose. So what I had to do is I got that 17-inch right here, and again the trusty 4-pound hammer. Make sure you put the box end on the bolt. Don't ever use the open end, because you'll strip them out really fast. Anyway, put the box end on there, held the hammer on there and tapped it and tapped it. Took a little bit. Finally got them to break loose, and then I just finished it off with the ratchet, got them out. So anyway, just wanted to let you know that's how I got those bottom pieces, or bottom bolts, broke loose. Okay, I got the CV shaft out. As you can see, I didn't have to take off that arm. Had to just get enough angle and push it out, popped out. Here, I'm going to tell y'all this was kind of a pain in the ass. Let me get under here. Sorry for all my grunting. I'm still full from eating. Some oil is coming out. Got got it broke loose. I'm gonna check that seal. I did get the seals, but I'm gonna see how hard it is. Hopefully it's not too hard to put them in or pull them out. I want to be sure I got the new seals and they're good. That seems like that one was holding, of course, but oil is leaking. What I did is I got a pry bar. You can see right here. I put it right here against this bolt. Got it in here, and I was putting pressure there. But what I was having to do is turn the CV shaft. You can turn it by hand. I only got one good hand. Anyway, I was spinning it, and as I was spinning it, I was working that pry bar here. Took about 5 minutes, but I just kept popping it. Just be patient. Get frustrated, and you start thinking of other things, but it popped out. So now I'm catching with oil there. Don't look like too much is coming out. But anyway, got that off. So I'm going to pull this CV shaft out, and then I'm going to start working up there again on the strut, or on the coil overs, and I'll follow up with that. Okay, I bought this one. This is the replacement CV shaft for that 2008 GX470. This is the brand new one. Comes with new cotter pin cap. You can see it's got a new nut on the end of it. So this is a brand new shaft. The other one that's going on the passenger side is a remanufactured, but like I said, I'm gonna put the new one on that. I didn't want to really wait for the order. You can find them online. I could have ordered them online and got them for about $150, $160 with the with shipping. Just depends. Just shop around. Prices change. I got this one brand new for $60 at Napa Auto Parts, and the rebuilt one was $54 actually, but I don't see the end label of it. Oh, there it is. So here's the part number if y'all need it. They can order them. They could have ordered me a new one, but I was being impatient, which didn't matter. It took me 3 months before I finally got the time to change these, so I probably guess I should have just ordered it. But anyway, so one new one's going in. I'm gonna start doing that, and I'll put the other ones in. Okay, we went ahead and put the new spring on. The one I ordered was longer, so I had to get my dad to help me. You can say hi.
Hello there, guys. Good luck.
So we got the spring on. One thing we had to do is put the jack underneath the bottom right here to hold tension. And this spring was longer. This kit I ordered, I think's got a lift on it. But anyway, my dad put a pry bar under here. I put a screwdriver, and we pried up on this thing until I was able to get that bolt to feed through. Got the seal off. All you're gonna do is put a screwdriver right in here. Tap it, it'll bust loose. We went ahead and tapped the new seal in. Trick, I don't know if that's what it's designed for, but the dust cap, if you actually set it right inside there, it actually fits perfect. So I use that to knock the new seal in with the hammer. So may try that. Hopefully I didn't stretch that dust cap out. It didn't look like I did, other than when I knocked it in earlier. So there's the old seal. But like I said, got all this stuff off Amazon. So we just put some, my dad told me to put some Vaseline around the seal to lube it, and then we put some prior to putting the seal in. So anyway, I'll video on the next step. Okay, I got the bearing off. When you're getting it loose, you have to back the bolts off, and then you have to hit it with a hammer to break it loose. There's a seal on the back here, a little O-ring. The new one, I ordered the whole new assembly, so it should come in, but I think this bearing is what was bad. But anyway, you can see the bolts in there. But again, the 4-pound hammer has been really useful on this project. So I'm gonna probably go ahead and just stab the new CV shaft and then feed it through there with the seal, and then I'll just put the bearing on. I didn't even have to break that loose. I'll probably just tighten it up right now since that's exposed, and then put that cotter pin back on it. When that comes off, just be sure you remember how it goes. That open end needs to be facing the driver to make room for your caliper, of course, that's hanging. So far, but like I said, I think this kit I ordered off Amazon, I think it's gonna have a 2 or 3 inch lift. Don't know if my wife will be happy with that, but it'll definitely should ride better. So anyway, on to the next. Okay, we went ahead and put the new shaft in. I had some help again. My dad's holding that for me. He's my third and fourth set of hands. You can see it's back up against the transaxle back there. What you'll have to do, line it up, turn it till you can get it, feel it lock in a little. I put the nut on with just about a quarter, a little more inch out, and I hit it with the hammer so I didn't damage the threads. Tap it until you feel it sit, and you'll see it sit flush in the back. So that's how you know it's in. So now we're gonna stab it into that seal. I still got the bearing off, but I think that way we can get the seal on it, and then we'll put the bearing on, and I'll video that in a minute. Okay, went ahead and you can see the CV shaft's in, the new shock's in. I went ahead and tightened up on the steering arm. Went ahead and tightened it back down, put that cotter pin back in. It just went right through because there's no bearing. I have to fish through, but now I'm gonna go get the new bearing, put it on there. Maybe just clean up these edges a little bit with some of that rust. Don't look too bad. But anyway, just gonna check that seal, see what it came with, and just gonna remove this bolt, and that other bearing should slide in. I should be able to bolt it up, and then from there I should be able to put the dust cap back on the rotor. The thing that seems like it could be a problem, and we're gonna find out here later, is where these bolt up to this on that lower control arm. Being that this new suspension is a taller, we're gonna have to maybe figure out a way to get pressure and jack that up to get these bolts back on. So that'll be something we'll try here in a little bit at the very end. Okay. All right, so to get this portion on, I went ahead and put the jack underneath the lower control arm. Had to jack it up. Got the bolts my dad was able to push on top over here and get this down, and you can see underneath there's these bolts. I was able to get those in, tighten them up. When I was putting on the bearing, I forgot to put the dust shield on, so I had to pull that off, put the shield back on. Anyway, tighten these up real good. Got the cotter pin back on, the cap. So really all I gotta do is put the rotor on, which I got right here, and put my brake calipers back on. I'm gonna change my brakes once I get those on, bolt that back on, and I think I'm gonna feed this wire loom back up to the engine compartment somewhere and tape it off, and this driver's side should be done. You just repeat these steps completely on the passenger side, and should be good. And then I'll video out the back because I'm changing out the back too, hopefully today. All right, second day, guys. Didn't get it all done like I wanted to yesterday. Ran out of time. Had too many things going on. But you can kind of see I'm on the passenger side. I'm to this point where I'm about to change out the seal. Get that done. Those bearings I bought were from Detroit Axle, and got them online. There's the part number if you need it. But anyway, got them pretty cheap. Comes with its seals. It's a complete bolt-on, so pretty easy. The one thing, like I said, is we're gonna struggle with is getting that new coil over shock, just because it's a lot taller. I'll probably have to come back afterwards and replace some of that oil that came out. But other than that, so far so good. And then I'll move on to the rear end, hopefully today. It's a little cooler today and some cloud cover. So yeah, I'm moving a little slower. But anyway, I'll keep following up when I get this done. And then I'll change the brakes out on this as well. You can see these probably do. Still got a little pad left, but yeah, since like I said, I got to this point, might as well change them all out and do things right. So anyway, I'll continue videoing as I move on. All right, I got everything on, as you can see. CV shafts, everything's hooked up, new brakes. Same side over there. When you take off the CV shafts, you're going to lose some oil. There's your plug is right there, and it's a 10 millimeter. I call them an Allen head. Anyway, it looks like an Allen head, but it's a 10 millimeter. A standard 3/8 may work, but if it doesn't fit right and it's actually in there pretty tight and you strip it, you ain't gonna get that out. you're gonna go through a lot of work. So it's better just, if you have to, I guess, run to Harbor Freight or just go to one of the auto stores and just buy it. Luckily, again, my dad had it, so we were able to. The oil the GX calls for is a 75 140. I got the synthetic. Went to Walmart. It's usually cheaper. Apparently somebody went and bought it all up. So anyway, I went to O'Reilly's and got this one. It was like $13 a bottle. One bottle should do it, but I bought two just in case. So anyway, that's where we're at. I'm gonna fill that. Once you break it loose, it's pretty easy to take out. The way you check it, if you've never done it before, get your finger, stick it in there. You can see. Anyway, you stick it in there until you can touch. If you can't touch oil, which this car is jacked up, so that's one thing. Is I got it at an angle, but anyway, you should be able to reach in with your finger and touch some kind of oil. But as much leaked out yesterday, it's low. So anyway, I'm going to add some. Figure it can't hurt it, and get that taken care of. So anyway, I'll video some more as I move to the back end after I'm done with this.